Local and federal investigations are underway right now after someone tried to set a Tesla dealership in Loveland on fire overnight. Loveland police tell us this happened at the dealership on North Lincoln Avenue, and they say several vehicles at the dealership were also vandalized with offensive and hateful graffiti. So similar vandalisms were reported at the same Tesla dealership twice in the last 2 weeks. The FBI and the ATF are also investigating.
There it is, guys. There it is. The infamous lovely Loveland, Colorado Tesla dealership that was recently firebombed by some kid. Let me show you a picture of him. If this guy doesn't look like the face of terrorism, I don't know what does, right? You could almost put my own face in there if you think about it. That's right, folks. Young white guy is the new face of terrorism. This article says, Colorado man federally charged in firebombing of Tesla dealership. Attorney General Pam the Bondi is seeking a 20-year sentence on this kid. So a 24-year-old man, Cooper Joe Frederick, has been federally charged for allegedly throwing a Molotov cocktail at a Tesla dealership right here in Loveland. The incident, which occurred on March 7th, resulted in significant property damage and has been labeled by federal officials as an act of domestic terrorism. United States Attorney General Pam the Bondi announced that she will be seeking a 20-year federal prison sentence in the case, signaling the Department of Justice aggressive approach towards infrastructure-related violence. Frederick was arrested in Plano, Texas, and has been transferred to federal custody. He is facing multiple felony charges and is expected to be arraigned in federal court in Colorado in the coming weeks. Federal charges and penalties include arson of property used in interstate commerce, possession of an unregistered destructive device, use of fire to commit a federal felony. Each of these charges carries significant prison terms under federal sentencing guidelines. Attorney General Pam the Bondi stated that her office is seeking the maximum penalty of 20 years in federal prison, citing the calculated nature of the attack and the danger it posed to both people and property. I'm not sure how many people were directly in line of fire, but, it sounds good on paper anyway, right? Quote, all of these cases are a serious threat to public safety, Bondi says. Therefore, there will be no negotiating. We are seeking 20 years in prison. Bondi emphasized the firebombing was not an isolated incident, but a part of a disturbing trend of political motivated violence targeting infrastructure and businesses. And then if you scroll down, I thought this was a little bit of interesting part here. Of course, Elon Musk is jumping right on the bandwagon, acting, playing the victim, the martyr card, just like Trump before him. Elon Musk publicly responded to Loveland firebombing, calling the act domestic terrorism, and thanking law enforcement for their swift response. Quote, attacking Tesla workers' property or infrastructure is not a protest, it's terrorism. Period. And that's what Elon Musk put on X, his own platform, of course. And this was a literal quote from Elon Musk. We will not be intimidated, and we will continue our mission to build a sustainable future. So keep that in mind, the sustainable future bit. And I thought this part of the article was interesting here. Context and growing pattern of attacks. Keeping in mind what Elon Musk tweeted out about our sustainable future. The Loveland Tesla attack was one of several acts across the country in recent months. According to the Department of Justice, Tesla dealerships, charging stations, and other facilities have been vandalized or attacked in states including South Carolina, Oregon, Nevada, and some of the incidents have also occurred internationally, prompting federal authorities to form a special task force to investigate the wave of violence. Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk, has become a high-profile political figure due to his advisory role with current administration and outspoken views on domestic and global policy issues. Officials believe the attacks are motivated in part by opposition to Musk's political stances and Tesla's association with federal clean energy initiatives. That's right, folks. So just put this in the context of pre-crime, which is what Trump himself has already pushed for when it comes to gun violence online, whereby big tech was called on to start to profile people that show warning signs ahead of time that they might commit some kind of a school shooting or act of gun violence. So consider this and the infrastructure that all the Peter Thiel acolytes within the Trump administration are working towards. Palantir, Peter Thiel's company, is literally a reference to the crystal balls in the Lord of the Rings that can foresee the future. And Peter Thiel has already, with Palantir, already tested out pre-crime software in some major cities in the U.S. Consider these thought criminals, like I guess I myself would be included in this, who are against EVs and all that they stand for, including the climate cult and the UN Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. There's that buzzword again, the sustainable future that Elon Musk called for there. Consider the fact that some of us who still hold true to what most conservatives used to believe just 2 to 3 years ago, that lithium battery electric vehicles were a complete con, and that they could never work back their carbon emissions that it takes to just mine the lithium and to assemble these cars. It's a fraud. It's a scam, and I'll stick to that. And the same thing that makes me nervous about the federal government classifying American citizens as domestic terrorists. I was just as nervous when the federal government was trying to classify the January 6th protesters as domestic terrorists, right? I was just as concerned when Obama dropped a drone on an American citizen using metadata, right? And triangulating their location through their cell phone in another country, albeit. But the same thing that makes me want to, I guess, defend on some level. I don't defend any act of any crime or any act of violence, right? Even against a precious little Tesla dealership like this one over here, with its shiny new Tesla Cyber trash trucks. My whole thing is, the only thing I stand for is non-compliance, right? If you don't like an EV, then don't buy an EV. If enough of us just boycotted EVs in general, right? Because they are a giant scam. They're all about control, and they can be tracked and traced, and they're little spy mobiles, and they can be hacked, and it can be taken over. They can be turned off if you are a bad citizen someday. Mark my words. And all these legislations that they're building around Elon Musk's company Tesla, you might consider that one day they might apply to Elon Musk's robots, right? Even when they're, thrown into the police force. I don't know if you've seen some of the footage of these little, they look like little miniature RoboCops that they're rolling out in the streets of China. I don't think that's too far away, when we already have like robo-dogs walking around the lawns at Mar-a-Lago, patrolling the property over there of the sitting president. And we have people like Elon Musk, who is actively working towards this nightmarish dystopia. And I guess that makes me a thought criminal, I guess that makes me on the list. I'm probably already on the list just by parking here for so long, to tell you the truth. But probably already got me on the FBI list. But that's okay. Dan Bongino will recognize me because he already had me blocked on X. As another thought criminal, right? So, but yeah, just these ideas that I hold as a bitter clinger, I guess, as an old-fashioned old-timer, I guess you could call me, that American citizens should not be thrown under the legislative framework of the Patriot Act that was originally intended, or at least, sold to the American people to only apply to those people over there, right? Those crazy towelheads over there in the desert, hiding in caves that somehow masterfully thwarted the most sophisticated intelligence gathering network on the planet and pulled off multiple airplane strikes on the Twin Towers and even the Pentagon, right? We are to believe this fairy tale. And that's really what it comes down to. This is all basically leftovers, holdouts from the Bush era, Bush administration, the never-ending war on terror, the Project for a New American Century that predicted 9/11, that Dick Cheney was a part of, if anybody remembers all that. It is the definition is increasingly getting grayer and grayer, isn't it, when it comes to, what a terrorist is and what an actual act of terrorism should include. We got people all over X that are screaming and wringing their fists, demanding that fellow American citizens, like this kid right here, should be considered terrorists just for keying a Tesla. That kid right there, that little white kid, 24 years old. It wasn't a few... I was a little bit younger, I guess you could say. I think I was still a minor. But I was running around the cities, and I was vandalizing, and I was spray painting places, and breaking into cars. Yeah, I wasn't a very good kid. I hung out with the wrong crowd when I was a kid. But, as a 24-year-old kid, I still consider that a kid, to jump on the bandwagon of a cause that you think is a worthy cause and to do a little destruction of property and to be slapped with the label of terrorist, something that was originally implied or intended for extremist, fundamentalist Muslim whack jobs that wanted to supposedly attack us, like George Bush put it, because they hate our freedoms, right? Yeah, the real war is on we the people. And the real terrorists are the ones in government. The Pam Bondis, who would rather prosecute a 24-year-old kid for vandalizing a couple Tesla cars, rather than, let's say, prosecuting some of the people on the Epstein list that she still refused to fully release. Do you think our priorities are a little out of whack, maybe, in this country? Just convict people for the crimes that they commit and stop it with these labels that people are so eager to throw at each other. This is the poison to the tree of liberty, is the two-party paradigm, right? It wasn't a couple years ago, when Dark Brandon had his little red speech there at Independence Hall when he was calling out MAGAs as the greatest violent, dangerous extremists, biggest threat to our democracy. You didn't like it being called a terrorist back then, did you? But now it's okay to call the other side terrorists. It's natural, right? Because you have been so conditioned to hate your fellow man, your neighbor, your fellow American citizen, to see them as a greater threat than the people who hold the true power in government, the true criminals, the true terrorists, like I say, that are willing to fund and arm terrorist states like Israel that are continually bombing innocent civilians, little babies found in the rubble. But we're the biggest threat. A couple kids running around throwing makeshift Molotov cocktails. I think Trump, or one of the officials, called a weapon of mass destruction. That's right. Molotov cocktail, something I used to make as a kid myself, just for fun. Sticky bomb, right? Take a little gasoline and a little egg white, and there you go. You got your own homemade napalm, kids. Don't try it at home. But that's just your friendly advice from a domestic, I guess. Thought criminal. Proud of it, though. I'm not going to change my ways. I'm going to keep fighting for freedom. I'm going to keep opening my mouth, even when it's not popular, because the truth, it's not a popularity contest, guys. Freedom is worth fighting for. And I don't care how appetizing the carrot on the stick looks. Don't fall for the two-party paradigm. Don't fall for this gimmick of trying to label fellow Americans, even the least of them, right? Terrorists. Because that makes us all terrorists and subject to the same terrorist legislation, which ultimately, if you look into it, deprives you of the right to habeas corpus, the right to a trial by a jury. Your constitutional rights, as soon as you're classified a terrorist, kids, if you haven't looked into this yet, if you might have been born after 9/11, once you're labeled a terrorist under the Patriot Act, you no longer have constitutional rights as a citizen. So does that sound fun, guys? Does that sound patriotic? Because trust me, it'll come back to bite you. All these things that you're calling for against your perceived enemies will one day come back to bite you. Anyway, just some thoughts. God bless everybody. Again, this is Nightwatch N8 from the infamous Tesla dealership over here. Loveland, Colorado. That was recently firebombed. There's the holy red Tesla monolith. I'm pretty sure if you touch it, you become enlightened, or I don't know, maybe you'll be on the list for a brain chip someday. Finally achieve that next level of evolution that Elon Musk and Klaus Schwab and the WEF and company are all pushing towards. Like they're on the same team, strangely enough, right? All right, folks, thanks for listening. This is Nightwatch N8. Just thought I'd go on a little rant. This is some place that I pass by all the time. And like I said, this little quaint little lovely town of Loveland down here is a place that I frequent often. It's literally the closest major city to where I live up there in the mountains. And it's just crazy how this place and this little random dealership is being used right now to justify the labeling of fellow American citizens as terrorists. Wake up, people. Wake up. Emergency. America's going down. You might call it MAGA. You might call it America First, but it's the same agenda that I've seen played out throughout my adult life over the last 2.5 decades now, since 9/11. It's still marching on. This new American century, this new world order is here. It's time to push back and stop giving up ground. That's all I'm saying. God bless. Nightwatch N8. Till next time, signing out. Looks like we got a guy checking out one of these hot cyber trucks right now as we speak. If you get a, like I said, I'm sure you end up on a list just by driving around here. Looking sus, you know what I mean? Lots of cyber trucks parked here, lots of Teslas. Looks like, I don't know if that's a private security vehicle of some kind. Garda-World, yep. Garda-World security over there. Interesting. They got their own, like, subcontracted security going on. I'm acting suspicious because I went straight with my blinker turning left. That's okay. Guess so. I'm sure I'll end up on a database if I'm not already. I'm probably 100% sure that I am. It's all good. Got nothing to worry about if you're not committing a crime, right, guys? Unless it's a thought crime, that is. I'm full of those, trust me. The longer you tune in to the Nightwatch N8 show, becomes quite obvious.